Sure.
Hello everyone, and welcome to today's session on navigating the initial years in a litigation career. I am Anusha Srivastava, instructional designer at EBC, and this webinar is brought to you by EBC Learning, which is EBC's educational initiative. We provide on-demand legal education for everyone. We at EBC aims to help remove hurdles to legal education, to empower you to make life-changing moves, and to help you learn and win. Our courses are available at ebclearning.com. Now, I'd like to introduce you all to our presenter for today, Ms. Tanvi Dubey. Tanvi is currently working with Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas and Company. She has extensive experience in handling contractual, corporate, and commercial disputes across a diverse range of sectors. She was also fortunate to start her career under the mentorship and guidance of late Sri Ram Jethmalani. She is a member of the Supreme Court Bar Association and also a member of the London Court of International Arbitration. She has been very vocal on the need for the legal empowerment of women and was one of the youngest panelists to be invited by the University of Oxford and London School of Economics to speak on the concerning issue. And the topic was rethinking gender equality in law. I welcome you, Tanvi.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank you.
now let's take a quick sneak peek into what our today's session is all about. This session will address the practical difficulties faced by the young lawyers and law students in their initial years of their journey in litigation. Further, it also aims to provide guidance to law students on how they can build a profile for litigation while at law school, which broadly which will also cover planning of internship and certification courses, etc. Through this session, Tanvi will also cover the steps involved in the journey from internships to PPO process and further briefly focus on the journey of women in litigation. Now, before I hand over the control to our presenter, just a few preliminaries about the webinar. This webinar is available on demand, and a recorded version of this webinar will continue to be available on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/c/EBC Learning. We'd of course love to hear from you all, so stick around for the question and answer session at the end of the presentation. You can send us your questions through the chat tab at the bottom of your player, and we'll take it up from there. At last, we encourage you all to share today's webinar with your social network. You can use the social sharing icons in the email invitation that has been sent to you. So without any further ado, I'd like to kick things off by welcoming our speaker, Tanvi Dubey. Over to you, Tanvi.
Thank you so much, Anusha, for this very good introduction and very kind of you. And especially congratulate EBC learning to come up with this platform in these testing days so that everyone is connected in some way and everyone is talking about things and learning many areas of law and technical aspects, whether it be practical aspects or theoretical aspects. It's quite an interactive way, and EBC has done a great job by introducing these webinar series. So today's, as we all know, that we have all gathered to speak about the initial years, what are the difficulties faced, and how should we proceed in the initial years if we decide to take our way forward in litigation. So let's keep this session an interactive one. It's a topic that everyone would want to know about, and there are many things actually, which you can't learn in law schools. Everything can't be taught in theory, but these things you grasp gradually by experience. And there are certain aspects which one should definitely keep in mind while they join law school, and also in the initial years as a growing lawyer, as a junior counsel. What are the things that one must keep in mind? So, without taking much of the time, what I'll do is I've prepared a small presentation. I'll just quickly share the screen and move to that. Right. So, as we all know, we are all here to speak on the initial years, navigating the initial years of litigation career. The area which we would want to, I would want you all to sketch I'll try to cover all of these areas. First of which is why law. I mean, I'm sure most of you have different concerns. You've chosen law as a career, different aims, and everyone has a different mindset. Why you've chosen law as a career? So that's the first question I think any lawyer, any law student in the law school, he or she should ask himself or herself that have I chosen this career? It's important because firstly it helps to motivate you in these 5 years of law school, and also to know the purpose why you've chosen law, and more than that also to constantly remind yourself of the purpose why you've chosen law as a career. I mean, frankly, I feel that there's no other profession which gives you so much liberty, so much independence of thought expressions. You also, and also opinion. You have an opinion even in the apex court. If you don't agree on a viewpoint, you have your own opinion, and that opinion is of course basis to the law and the, I mean, you but even in the apex court you can put forward your opinion to the judge that okay, I contradict to this point basis this opinion. So this is a platform which provides you so much of liberty, which provides you also the platform to have that opinion put in a form of that's the platform that law provides you. So that's something that everyone should question. I personally feel that once you join or once you initiate your career in law, that's very important to question yourself that why have I chosen this career, how it's going to help me, and what's the main purpose, whether it's serving the purpose or not. Secondly, uh, let's discuss on utilizing these 5 years of law school, or maybe there are people who are just doing LLB course that's 3 year. So whatever the time period, whether it be 3 year or 5 year, how to utilize this spring time frame. Most of the people now go for the 5 years law course. So let's keep that in mind and speak about the 5 years law journey. See, there are various aspects while you join the law school. I personally am speaking out of my own experience. While I joined the law school, I was inclined towards judiciary as the other batchmates were. So I also thought of joining the judiciary classes and maybe preparing for judiciary and giving my judicial services examination at the end of 5 years. But then it suddenly clicked me that okay, I mean, maybe just go for internships, maybe just try what's happening around, and maybe just have an exposure or experience and gather those experience and skills, and then take a call. In first year, second semester, I went for an internship in trial court, and then I really like litigation. Although trial and first year is not the right time to be decisive whether it's the right path or not. But yes, it was a very good experience. I like the work. I like the court work. I like the I mean, altogether reading the brief, coming with your own ideas, having your own ideas incorporated in a brief. So all of that was something that I acknowledged in first year, and I thought that maybe just try for other internships, and then gradually I followed the path. So, which is the reason these 5 years are crucial to do everything. I'm not saying that, okay, in first year be decisive that I want to do litigation. It's not certain. So, which is the reason experience matters a lot. College learning, theoretical learning is also important, but at the same time, while you are in the field, to know what actually happens in the field, it's very important if you want to litigate. So the most important aspect of it is, of course, internships. Through internships, you get to learn actually what happens in the field. You actually learns what you'll do once you graduate. Once you actually imagine a situation when the day you graduate, a client comes to the day you get enrolled. Actually, a client comes to you and give you a brief that okay, I mean, I just want you to be my lawyer. I want you to argue a matter. So you should be like, okay, I mean, you already know, you've already been in the field, you already know how it happens, what's the process. So I think then it becomes very easy for you to understand things, and also to be in the system. I mean, because when you've already practiced it, it's very easy to just gather those things, and just, I mean, it'll be something that you've already experienced. So, which is the reason internships plays a very important role in these 5 years. I'll discuss more about internships subsequently, how to apply for it, where to apply, in which year, and all of that we'll cover subsequently. But as far as utilizing these 5 years in law school is concerned, yes, first is internship. Second, of course, is the certification courses. See, certification courses are stressed more on the people who are doing law from the non-national law schools, because you know there's a kind of when you apply for your internships, especially in the law firms, if you already have certification courses which are very specific courses, maybe on drafting, on pleadings, or you can also go for all of these online classes. They have their lecture series, so that is also at the same time that's important. So these certification courses and lecture series, they provide you practical aspect. You are always a step ahead of someone. So if you, for example, go for a certification course on drafting, so I mean, I personally haven't done that, but what I've heard, I've done certification course in consumer rights, human rights, international law. So what I personally experienced is then while I was giving my interview in the law firm, it was very easy for me to actually comment on those areas because I've read those areas in detail. I've also done practical experiences in those areas. So it was very important for me. It was very easy for me to deal with those areas. So certification courses is one other aspect. Thirdly, I would say that write a lot, go for blogs, writing articles, writing of write for journals. What happens in writing is actually you comprehend, you actually write what's in your mind, you actually frame your own ideas, frame your own opinion, and then write it. That's what a lawyer does. Even when he get the brief, he makes his own case. So that's like a gradual ladder what you do in the law school. So which is the reason it's very important to uh, just give it a try. Start from maybe small blogs or maybe small articles in your own college journals, and then take a step forward for national international journals. These days there's a great scope for all of these competitions. And I mean, uh, so many websites and even the college websites, that's a very important aspect. You could, rather than there are other portals as well which keep you updated about these competitions, e-journals, blog writing competitions and all. Apart from that, you should visit the respective college websites as well. That's something that even I did. So my first paper presentation was in NLS, and I that was nowhere. So I just was going through their website, and I suddenly found this competition that okay, well, this research paper, and I wrote for it. I went for it. So which is the reason there are certain competitions that are not available on other platforms. So you should keep in a while, you should can just search for it, visit the websites of certain colleges, you see certain competitions, you see certain platforms where you can actually tabulate and frame your opinion, write something, or maybe speak. Again, that's again important. Moot courts, it's very important because I'm sure whosoever has went for moot courts, there's a different kind of interest you develop in litigation all of a sudden. That only happens because you understand what's happening. You understand that what happens in a court when while you're drafting the memo. It's what the process is. So once you are in the system, it becomes very easy for you. So that's again a very important aspect of what you can do in a law school. And we can, have hours and hours of discussion on what to do and how to move forward in a moot court competition. What are the nitty-gritties? And I think that's very specific topic to discuss. But yes, again, that's something that helps a person and helps a law student in these initial 5 years. So by the time you graduate, once you're in the court, it becomes very easy for you. You already know the system. Now I'll quickly discuss moving forward, that what regarding certain things about internships. I personally want to discuss certain aspects about internships. See, there's no hard and fast rule, and I know people saying that, okay, I'm from a non national law school. Maybe it's very difficult. HRs just filter CVs from the national law schools. All of that I've keep hearing time and again from a lot of law students. But to be frank, it's not like that. I'm speaking out of my own experience. I also graduated from a non national law school. While I entered my law school, of course, it was like a ladder. It was everything was interlinked, which I personally witnessed in my situation. So while I interned in trial court, I got to know about, like, okay, I mean, maybe I can try for high court internship. Then I moved forward towards the interning with a high court judge, and then the Supreme Court. I interned with different lawyers in Supreme Court, and also then to the law firms. So it was, everything was interlinked. So which is the reason for internships for all of these students, and maybe people from the participants, some of the students maybe from first year, second years, third years. So see, and the best way to go about internship is, there's no rocket science as to where to apply, when to apply, but you just have to be, you know, I mean, in that process, and you have to actively take those decisions. So I would suggest that first year and second year should be devoted for your trial work. First year you apply for NGO internship or the trial court internship. By the time you graduate, sorry, by the time you move to your second year, you already know the trial process. Imagine a situation where you go to the apex court directly for internship and you don't know anything about trial. You'll be lost. You'll know nothing in the Supreme Court. So it's very important to know the trial procedure. Then go to the high court. You, in the third year, you can explore trial high court opportunities, and that is the stage when you go to the apex court. And mind you, if you follow this process, by the end of third year, I guarantee you, because I've personally experienced this, by the end of third year, you know for a fact that am I even enjoying litigation or not. So that's a big question, and you get that answer from your experience, that okay, I mean, there may be a situation where you don't like litigation, so you can definitely choose out. There are various other opportunities in the law career. You can go for corporate, you can go for teaching. There are various other avenues. So that only comes out of experience. So by the end of third year, when you have experience at the trial, the high court level, at the apex level, if you really like litigation, then fourth year I would suggest then you should go for a specific internship. For example, if you like work in a dispute resolution team in a law firm, then I personally I interned in Amarchan in fourth year, and that time I I interned in dispute resolution team. I really liked the work there, and once I was interning there, I was already I knew the team members. I really liked the work, and then maybe I just thought that this is the place I would want to work in after graduation. So then I tried for a callback internship in Amarchan. So that that's only possible when you have experience at all the levels, when you are clear that okay, I want to do litigation, and then follow that path. So I'll come in the other subsequent portions of today's webinar into how to apply in the law firm. That's separate issue. But as far as the internships are concerned, I briefly told you that first and second year must be devoted for trial work. Third year, go for high court internships. Go for maybe third year, second semester, you can explore Supreme Court work. Work with an AOR. That's the best way to have a filing exposure. Then that's the stage when you can decide as to what you want to do. That's very important. Briefly, now I want to cover importance of enhancing CV while placements in a law firm or even otherwise. That's something that I think everyone should be very, very particular about if you intend to join a law firm after your graduation. Because what happens, whether it be internships, whether it be PPOs, your CV plays a very, very important role. And more than CV, the covering letter plays a very important role that even I've witnessed in my case. So whenever I used to apply for internships, I used to make sure that it's also accompanied by a cover letter. In the cover letter, I used to write first of all what period time frame I'm going to intern in. I want to intern in. I seek to intern in, and then also I used to write what experience I already have. So there are certain people who just go through a cover letter. I mean, I've seen. I was just having a conversation with one of my colleagues who's HR in a company, and they personally told that see, cover letter is something that makes you read the experience of a person, and that's something that's very important. So the cover letter should be crisp. The cover letter should highlight your experience already. The cover letter should briefly incorporate the period of your internship, also why you intend to intern in that place. So these three things are must in a, you can take a noting, these three things are must in a cover letter. One should have a cover letter always accompanied with the CV. Again, coming to your resume should be very crisp again, not more than 1.5 pages for sure. And whatever you put in your CV, you should be crystal clear. You should be 110% sure that, okay, if I'm putting this, the interviewer is going to ask me this. And most of your internship, your law firm interviews, they are based on your CV and the worksheet. I'll come later to what the worksheet is all about. That's something that I'll deal specifically, but your law firm internship, the worksheet and your CV plays a very important role. So whatever you're incorporating in the CV, be mindful of the fact that you know what's there in the CV. You're thorough of it. For example, you put certain principles of contract that in so and so internship I uh, was made to work on certain principles of contract. So you have to be aware of it, because the interviewer is going to question you anything about it. The recent developments in that field, what work did you do? What was that matter? What was your involvement in that matter? So all of that plays a critical role. Uh, then moving forward, specifically, I want to talk about internships in law firms. That's a very important topic I personally feel to discuss today. While you're interning in a law firm, there are certain, I would say that many people have seen law firms, if you people are aware that they have team cultures. So in a dispute resolution, you will have around 10 to 8 teams, 10 to 8 partners, and those partners will have their specific team of 6 to 7 members. And the law firms get at least 5 to 6 interns every 2 weeks. In a rotation they get interns. So to make your own identity among those interns is very important while you're interning in a law firm or in a specific team of a law firm. So if you are, firstly, you should know if you are actually interested in that work. You should know that, am I even liking that work? If you are, then of course you should personally speak with either the partner or the principal associate in the team, and you should let them be aware that, okay, I mean, be interactive with them, that, okay, I mean, I have experience already in so and so areas, and I'm very keen to work with your team, and this is my experience. I've already dealt with so and so matter, and this is somehow, just build that connection and just speak with them. Secondly, it's important to give your own views. It may be right, it may be wrong, but framing your viewpoint on any particular given point, it's not, I mean, it's always, they'll always appreciate it. Firstly, dispute resolution partners, what you'll see that they are mostly in courts, so it will be difficult for you to catch hold of them. But whenever there's an opportunity, maybe on a lunch table or maybe just meet in the coffee area, just meet them and just tell them that this is what I've been, the work has been allocated to me, and this is what I found. And my personal opinion is this. That may be right, that may be wrong, but that they'll always appreciate it. So to engaging in discussions with these people, it's really important to engage in discussions with these people. Just a moment, I'll just change the slide actually. Right. So I was speaking about internships. I also come to the PPO process that's in this current slide. About internships, I was discussing that it's important to understand the nature of work, to be in interaction with the partner, to let them be aware what you've already done, give your opinion, engage in discussions, also to show interest on callback internship. Callback internship is really important if you talk about the PPO process. See, what happens is that firstly you have to question yourself before anything. Forget about PPO, forget about anything, or callback internship. First, you have to question yourself whether I'm liking the work or not, because you have to work in that place. And interning there, you get an idea as to what the kind of work is going to be. So, getting a callback internship will only make sense if you really like the work. So, firstly, you need to question yourself if I'm really liking the work or not. Secondly, if you're liking the work, then you need to engage in discussions. You need to have a regular tie up with you just engage in, even after your internship ends. Maybe just call the partner or call the team members that, okay, I'm doing this. How are you doing? I'm interning in this place now. and maybe I'm interested for a callback. That also helps a lot in certain cases, just to build that connection. That it's very important. And while you are interning, so I don't know about other law firms, but most of the law firms I'm talking about, especially the tier one law firms, they have a culture of a research paper being submitted at the end of the internship. That's an important way to have something. Firstly, it plays a very important role in your worksheet, because that research paper, uh, while the interviewer is interviewing you, he knows that you have submitted this research paper. So I've seen cases where they also go to the point on which the research was done by that particular person. So research, writing that research paper is again important. And also, just giving your viewpoint on any topic, that okay, this is the same matter in which I was working while my first internship. This is something that I researched further on it, just to let them be aware of your interest in any area. One most important thing I want to discuss with you all is, don't shred away from any kind of work. I know, I mean, litigator has to be like a multitasker. He has to, when you all, many of you are students and many of you are young lawyers who are already graduated, must connect to what I'm saying. But in the initial years, there are certain areas or certain tasks that you would not want to do, like filing or just preparing briefs or asking the clerk to file or going for filing and all. So that there are certain areas which you like, okay, I'm a lawyer, I'll research on a point, or I'll maybe make an argument or argue in the court. That one is fine. You'll get an opportunity at your specific time frame to do all of that. But you should know how to prepare a brief. You should know how to file. So in a law firm, personally, I witnessed it. I went to, that was my first filing in Supreme Court, and I prepared the brief. And then I was told that there are specific law clerks and they'll have this file. So I was like, no, I just want to go. I would want to have a look how the registry functions, what happens at every level. So I take you through the Supreme Court website. So there are several areas which you have to know about. So it's not only about arguing the matter. You have to be thorough from scratch. So do not shred away from any kind of work during your internship. If someone has given you a task, maybe to take an SCC print, don't feel offended or so. I mean, you'll get good work as well, but don't shred away from any kind of work, because uh, these are part and parcel. I mean, every day we have to do things like taking SCC prints or maybe making briefs or even going ourselves for filing. So that is something that everyone should be happy to do, and that happens with in the initial years, or I may say even at any level. This is the profession that you've chosen, so you can't actually pick and choose the task that you have to do. So yes, so that's something that I have personally seen many interns getting offended on doing, like minor tasks like taking prints or maybe preparing briefs. But that's part and parcel. You get good work also, but if in the given circumstances, you should be happy and you should learn from the experiences, and you should be happy to do any kind of work. So this was all about journey from internship to PPO. If anyone has any queries, they can post in the chat section. I'll be happy to entertain. At the end of the session, we'll have the Q&A round, and we'll deal with all of those questions. See, with this, uh, it's important to actually deal with what are the major skills in a litigation practice. It's more so important because if you've chosen this field, you should know what is the skill set that's actually required of me. And I'm speaking about this because these are the skills you should look in these 5 years in the law school. You should look at these skills that, okay, these are the skills that are expected out of me. These are the skills that I have to develop while in law school. First is litigation related drafting. As I suggested, these certification courses or maybe writing blogs and articles, that's all part of drafting. You know the drafting skills. To know the drafting, I mean, imagine a situation if you graduate and if you get a brief and the client wants you to draft and appear and you to take the brief forward, then you should be aware how SLP is drafted, how a writ petition is drafted. And especially for drafting in Supreme Court, I would suggest, like for example, SLP is concerned, so your focus should be on the grounds, because uh, it should be very, very crisp. Firstly, your questions of law, and the ground should be the focal area, because that's what the judges do, especially on a Monday and Friday. Supreme Court is crowded. When you've seen SLPs being filed as the special leave petition, so that has to be, you have to frame your questions of law in a manner to convince the bench, and also to include points that are actually not covered in the impugned order. So all of that you'll gradually learn while you are in the process, while you actually know how to draft. And drafting also comes with experience. So that will not, and that's also not a rocket science that will come in one day. That's also time consuming. So better it is to start while in law school to develop this skill. Again, the second is be it good at legal research. Legal research is again important, as I suggested. All of these platforms like SCC Online, there are now SCC Online, there are several techniques to research also. So if you look at the search engine, and if you, there are several ways to research. So you should know all of those areas, the techniques to research. That helps you build, and you, it becomes very easy. It also comes with experience, and you gather from your own experience. Okay, this thing I did in my previous attempt, and now I know how to do it. That only comes with experience. Maybe also connect with your colleagues on how to work about it, how to go about it. That also comes with experience. Thirdly, it's learning the art of building arguments. That's very important. That's something that comes in again by writing, by speaking, which is the reason you should actively participate in moot courts. That's building arguments. You build an argument while you put forward your case while in moot court. So which is the reason you are already in that process. Even building of arguments while you are interning, don't hesitate, because they are, whether it's a chamber internship or a law firm internship, you meet people and you see real cases happening, unlike moot courts. So what you are always free to put your opinion. You're always free to build your own argument and suggest it to your whether it be a lawyer or any partner or principal associate in law firm. Tell them that this is something that I have. This is my opinion. This is my argument. So that will also gradually help you in this process. Fourth and the most important thing is networking. I mean, for lawyers, I think nothing is more important than networking, from the clients to your own colleagues to different general counsels of the companies. It's like a process, and it doesn't start from after graduation or after enrollment. It starts from scratch, from the first year of your law school, from your internship stage. So your the ladder I was talking about. So while you are interning in trial court, I'm sure many of you might have met friends that, okay, I interned there, and then that connection is built, and then maybe you can ask that person that, okay, can you just connect me with that other person. So it's kind of a chain that builds, and that network follows throughout. In this profession, network plays a very, very important role. So you should always keep your LinkedIn profiles updated. You should always, whenever you meet new people, and if you feel that, okay, this is something that I can learn from him or her, then don't be hesitant. Just because I've personally seen many cases. I once in Supreme Court, I went, and it was a matter was listed before Justice Nariman, and my senior was getting late. And yeah, I mean, I was not hesitant. I started arguing the matter. He said that, okay, I initially thought of taking a pass over. Then he said that, okay, you start with the arguments, and I started. So, and it really went on well. So that time I realized that nothing is impossible, just that you have to be aware of the techniques, you have to be aware of how the system functions, for which of course the experience is must. So again, I'm sure all of you must be keeping all of their LinkedIn profiles updated. All of you have like a chain and network of colleagues, friends in law school, or even otherwise, even outside the even after your enrollment. That's something that's very important. Connected to this, I will also speak about certain important tasks that constitute important work for the litigators. The first one is very interesting, that's learning to listen to the client. Because a client comes to you with a brief that, okay, Mr. So and so or Miss So and so, I want you to be my lawyer. And this is the brief, I hand you the brief. And this now Before that, you need to know the facts. You need to, because you have to build a case. You have to build a story out of a case. And for that, you need to know everything from scratch. Everything and anything you know. Just tell the clients that, okay, let's have a conference. You just tell me what exactly happened. What are the facts? Give me all the documents from scratch. Especially in the Supreme Court, because that's the apex court. You need to have a history of everything. You have to know what happened in trial court. You know, need to know, have the high court order. And I mean, that's something that's very important. And for that, you have to uh, learn this skill to listen. That's, I know that's several times that's like a patient process, and you'll be like, okay, I mean, why didn't you give me this document previously? Now this is already, the draft is at completion stage. Why didn't you give me at the initial stage? That all happens. That's part and parcel. But yes, you have to develop the skill to listen to the client, know the facts of the case, and basis that build the story of a case. And that becomes very easy then, because you have firstly everything incorporated in the case. When you argue the matter, it's very easy for you because it's like a story that you're arguing on. So yes, this is the first skill, first task that contribute the major work for litigators. Secondly, it's bringing multiple issues on table. As I suggested, that even if you're interning anywhere, then bring your own ideas. Even it's like, even after your graduation, if you join a law firm or if you join a chamber, even if there's an internal conference going on, don't shred away from putting your own opinion. Bring your even in a team discussion or a meeting, give your own viewpoint on a matter, give your own argument that this is what I feel is right or wrong. That's something very important. Then the third thing, as I suggested, that don't shred away from any kind of work like preparation of brief, uh, researching maybe on small topics or taking out prints, preparing ancillaries. Don't shred away from doing all of that. Involve active involvement in filing. That's something that's very important. You need to know, because for litigator, from munshi to the registrar to the everyone to the filing counter, you need to know how this process is, because it becomes then easy to actually follow up even with the court clerks. To even follow up with the court clerks, firstly you need to know the entire process. So to begin with, I think it's very important to go through those initial stage levels, be acquainted, learn how things function at various levels, whether it be trial court, high court, or Supreme Court. You need to know how things function. Also, it's very important. I've personally seen many cases where outbox thinking plays a very, very important role. So it's really important, and outbox thinking plays a very important role in a in personally in litigation, because once you argue a matter, before even going to the facts of the case, the judges would want to know, you know you can, even the questions of law, many questions, many a times lawyers frame the questions of law basis their own understanding, basis some thinking. So that analytical thinking, that outbox thinking, and to develop that thinking process, that's very important. If you if you talk about arguments, or even if you talk about drafting, so understanding that and to develop that, that's something that's again very important. I'll quickly move. I'll just quickly take you to the Supreme Court website, where I just want to give you an example. I don't know. I think there's some. I don't know. I think there's some network error. But anyways, so in the Supreme Court website, if you see, there's a separate column for defect section, there's a separate column for the office report. So I mean, that's just an example of how things function and how why is it important to be acquainted with the practical knowledge. And while your internship, and at every level you learn a different skill, and you will, gradually climb the ladder. That will happen only once you're in the process, once you have experience at every level. So yes, that's all about internships. I'll be taking the questions that you all have about the internship process. I think I've briefly covered what to do while you are applying for internships, while you are in the law firm interning, and any of one of you having any query on internships or anything otherwise, they can contact me. I'm very happy to assist them. Uh, One more section that I wanted to discuss in today's webinar was women in litigation. See, I there are certain cases in which personally law students, especially women, ask me that whether this field is suitable. I mean, because the courts are not favorable, the court infrastructure is yet not favorable towards women litigators. So, is it the best career option? And even I've seen parents, they are reluctant to send their daughters into litigation. So, that's something that we've witnessed time and again. I would say that somehow that's a big flaw in the system. It's prevalent, but it's, of course, there's huge improvement. There are women who are doing really well in the profession. We have judges who are in the Supreme Court. We have women judges in the Supreme Court. Women are represented even in the law firms. If you see, even at the partnership level, we have adequate representation of women in the corporate structure everywhere now. I think the situation is changing gradually, and it's not at all difficult. And I personally feel that women should promote other women in this profession. That's something that's very important, and we've spoken in detail in other uh, symposiums and webinars where we've spoken how they can actually, you know take a lead in this profession. So it's important to be confident in what you're doing. It's important to know the kind of work that you like. That's something that's very important. And then yes, the path is all yours. It's everything is flourishing, and women's are flourishing in this profession. So yes, it's a very good field. So now, the major takeaways, if we say, for today's session, I think all of you, the students especially who've joined us for today's session, uh, please understand the importance of practical exposure in the initial years. Even once you graduate, it's important to know your interest in specific field of law, and which is why I've seen people going for LLM after few years after having experience and after having court exposure. That happens actually because they understand their area of interest, and then they would want to go for LLM. That's something that's very important. So experience is like a key mantra, success mantra in this profession, and that everything, your professional knowledge and everything, comes with experience. So that's something that's very important to be focused about in this profession. I would also talk a little bit about what are the factors when one should think or consider going independent in this profession. See, going independent, even at the outset, even while you get enrolled, it's nothing stops you from doing that. But I personally feel it's always good to have a mentor in this field, and to work with a senior, to understand the nitty gritties of law, to understand if you're able to survive in the initial years of your litigation career, and then maybe take that step of going independent. So there's no harm going independent at the very outset, but yes, if possible, then have a mentor, have some experience, and then maybe think of going independent. uh, at the same time, if you talk about certain disadvantages, see, litigation is a career where we keep hearing that the sky is the limit. That's actually true. But again, if you talk about certain disadvantages, then yes, the initial years of a litigation practice, you have to learn to survive. If you are in litigation practice, if you start your own court practice or join a chamber or maybe start your own practice, it's actually difficult to survive. So that survival is something that you need to think about. You need to ask yourself questions like, can I, survive in what I'm getting, the clients I'm getting, whether I'm able to give them advice or whether I'm able to handle their brief. That's something again that's very important. If you're getting clients, then you should able to take their case forward. So that's also something, an important aspect which you should think about before taking a big decision of going independent. So these are crucial aspects while you think of going independent, or even otherwise in the initial years of your practice. You should focus on all of these areas. I think we've tried in the given time frame to cover the certain aspects of what, while in law school and even outside law school, what should one do to enhance his practice, to enhance his experience. And if anything is, when I don't know, I can see a lot of questions here. So Anusha, should we start with the questions, or how do you want to go?
Yeah, yeah. We are fine with it. So, yeah, there are various questions. So, one of the question which has just been asked is, what is the most challenging thing one faces when starting a career in litigation? The initial challenge, the most challenging thing.
See, the initial challenge, I would say, as I suggested now, that in litigation, of course, the sky is the limit. You'll get various opportunities, but survival is the initial challenge. You have to ask yourself the question whether I'm able to survive, and then maybe take that decision to whatever, build your independent firm or practice. So that survival is the initial struggle that everyone has to cope up with.
Right. So, if when one decides to enter into litigation, so what do you think should be the first step of their decision? On what basis should we decide the few basic things which are there that they can measure that okay, they want to enter into litigation? This is the first step they have to take.
See, there's no that's something. There are certain pointers. Like for example, as I said, that a little bit of outbox thinking, analytical thinking. So these are only things that you can. It's a very early stage to decide whether you want to litigate or not. That only comes up with experience. So that's something that one is to keep in mind. That litigation, if you enter litigation, I think while you have experience, then only you can be decisive.
Right.
So there's no skill set. I mean, skill set we've already spoken about, that
Yeah.
a lawyer should, a litigator should, when whosoever is interested in litigation can think about and develop while in law school or after graduation. But I think experience is the key to everything.
Right. So, see, this is a common knowledge to everyone that when one starts in litigation, obviously there's very less money involved and a lot of gruesome hours. So, in your opinion, what should it be like? Should students go for the law firms and choose the more money part in the starting and then gradually go into litigation? Or if they want to have a career in litigation, they can directly dive into it.
See, again, that's subjective. That's totally dependent on one's situation. Because if I personally feel that law firm is not a bad option, because there you get a variety. You get come from commercial to arbitration, everything you get if you're working in a particular team or in a law firm. So that's something that's a positive aspect. While in the initial years, many people choose to join a law firm to get that variety. If you talk about joining a chamber, then it's always better to join a senior who you know personally, or one of his juniors personally. So it's easy for you. In a senior's office, the most important task and the toughest task, I would say, is to create your own identity, is to get good work. Because you don't want to end up just having a look at the display board or just ensuring that the senior reaches the courtroom. That's something that, I mean, juniors have to be very particular about. So it's always good to join a senior you know, or good to join a senior, have like conversation with someone from his office. It's always good. Or even you can in your during your law school days, maybe intern with that senior, know his office culture, how his office functions, and if you're getting good work, then only it makes any point to join a senior counsel.
Right. So, moving on to another question. So, you have already established in your presentation what is the importance of internship. So, one of the question is, does online certificate courses help and improve the chances of getting internship? So, and if so, then what are the major online courses which is preferable by the law firms or any lawyer?
See, I think nowadays, I mean, post the lockdown era, I think many law firms are also providing virtual internships. So that's something that's I can only see now. That doesn't. I personally, I did not witness that anytime before. That's something that's happening now. People are providing virtual internships. As far as the courses are concerned, I think there's no course as such on internship that people can opt for. I don't know what course is there for internship, because see, internship is something that, as I suggested, the ladder that person should follow. What should one do in second year? What should one do in third year? What should one do in fourth year? And then devise the interest in which area, whether he want to do litigation or not at all do litigation. So that's something subjective, and that's something that only comes with experience. So certification course can, maybe you can just enroll for certification course, or certification course is also going to tell you the process in which you can apply, what are the pointers you should keep in mind. But at the end of it, you have to get into the system, you have to get into the process. So that's, I think, more important.
All right. One of the question which has been asked right now is, does MUNs and youth parliaments held in the colleges hold any uh, leverage on getting internships, and specifically on internships with a Supreme Court lawyer or say some very well-known lawyer?
I mean, I did not understand the question. It's like a linkage of the MOU.
Basically the importance of MUNs and youth parliaments which are held in colleges. What is the importance of that, and i- is it given any importance while a law firm or say a lawyer is going through the CVs of the students?
Yes, of course. So people always appreciate whosoever will look at the CV. If you're having extracurriculars, it's always appreciated. And as I said, a litigator has to be an all-rounder. You have to know how to build up the arguments. You have to know how to keep your opinion. So these are all modes to do that while in law school. So there's, of course, people should engage and utilize these 5 years in doing everything possible. So yes, I strongly advise that. Very important.
Right. I think uh, I think we have answered most of the questions, and you have already covered a huge chunk of information in your webinar. So, moving ahead from the questions, I would sincerely like to thank you for such an informative and enriching session. I'm sure this session has helped our many budding litigators amongst us today, and it will be helpful for next generation of litigators as well. So, before we bid adieu to you all, I would like to walk you through our website where you can take various courses given by industry experts and learn from the experiences of legal moguls through our talk section. So, I'll just share my screen. I hope my screen is visible to you all. So this is a website wherein we offer a huge variety of courses, legal courses. So, and these are offered by industry experts. And not only this, we have talks from leading lawyers and academicians like Professor Madhav Menon, late Mr. Ram Jethmalani, Raju Ramachandran, KTS Tulsi. So you all can go through all these and learn from their varied experiences. You can take up our courses, and uh, obviously these are all certification courses, so it will be beneficial for you all. And we also have our YouTube channel. So this is a YouTube channel. All the webinars, since we are offering a series of webinars now, all these are available here. Not only this, there are few courses, some important parts of the courses which you can see like here. You can go through these, and obviously subscribe to our channel, and you will get all the latest updates. And I guess with this, I would like to say thanks, Tanvi, again. And it was great having you here. And I hope it was beneficial and it was very useful for our participants as well. At last, I would just like to say that you all please stay safe, and take care of yourself and your families. Any last words from you, Tanvi?
Thank you so much, Anusha. I hope we were, although we are on time, and I tried to cover those initial and basic aspects which one should focus on while in law school, and even after graduation, and even after enrollment. So, if any query is left unaddressed, then people can reach me on Facebook or LinkedIn. I'll be happy to address those queries. And yes, thank you. And again, congratulations to EBC Learning for all of these webinars. I'm sure it's a great way to engage yourself, keep yourself engaged, and also to interact. It's a great way. And thank you, Anusha.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tanvi. For all the participants, as Tanvi said, if you have any queries, you can always reach us on our social media handle, and we'll take up your queries from there, and we'll get Tanvi involved in solving your queries. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks a lot, Tanvi.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.